Talk About with John Twig is brought to you in part by Brian Shaw with Mackey Research Capital in Campbell River, offering portfolio management, investment planning, and insurance products.
Hi, welcome to Talk About here on Shaw TV North Island. My name is John Twig. Last show of the season, so I hope it's a good one. And I think it will be. We've got Greenways Land Trust, Cynthia Ben-Dixon, Special Projects Manager, and two students, Josie Simpson and Dane Feeney. So thank you all for coming in.
Well, thanks very much for having us.
I gather you guys were out in the field this morning or this afternoon?
We were, yeah.
What were you doing?
We were, well, there was a couple of things that we were doing, but the one that we were doing most recently was looking for bands on the Canada geese that we banded last year.
Is that the egg-addling exercise?
Well, we're not into that portion yet, and we may not ever get into that portion. We're actually, there's not very many nests in the estuary at all. So we were down in the estuary though looking for the band numbers that of the collared birds that we did last year.
I'm an old journalist at heart. I gotta get to the tough questions. I spent 10 years in Saskatchewan and they have a terrible geese problem in the lake there. And so it's common, it's sensible, but there's too many eggs, too many geese, so they addle the eggs and then put them back.
And that is an option for goose management, and it's done all over the world in many places, and it's fairly humane, very humane actually. But the problem with the Campbell River population is that we don't know where the nests are. We can't find the nests. They're not in the estuary. We have found a few nests out and about in kind of the lakes. There's some up at Quinsam Cole. There's some out sort of Buttle Lake area. But really, we're not finding very many nests at all.
Interesting. Are you guys helping with the nest search?
Yeah, not so much the nest search. We deal with the counting and the identifying of the bands.
I take my kayak out and get right out on the water, get in their elements. And
you're a summer student getting paid?
That's what I was thinking when I was writing
this is very serious scientific research, John.
No, it's pretty cool.
Well, actually, I remember, I'm not sure if Cynthia, you made the presentation, but somebody was telling Campbell River Council about the resident geese population, and there's some that migrate and some that are now resident, is that correct?
Yeah, well, I think there's probably, based on the kind of research that we've done, we've been out looking for them. There is a small, relatively small population of about probably between 150 and 200 geese that are in Campbell River or Campbell River area, sort of down to Black Creek-ish, year round. But our count this morning was 1,400 geese. And some of our band returns have come back from as far away as southern Oregon. So we're having, I think most of them are staying kind of on Vancouver Island, down into Puget Sound, and a little bit in kind of the Salish Sea area. But we have these migrants coming in during the summertime, during the molt, and they can't fly. And there's lots to eat down there, and there's little islands to sleep on at night and protect them from predators. So it's a pretty ideal habitat for them, so they're here.
Too ideal in a way.
Yeah, well, it's unfortunate because there are impacts from having that many geese in the estuary. We are doing a little bit of research in terms of quantifying what those impacts are. But they do eat a lot of vegetation, and a lot of that vegetation is really important for maintaining the ecosystem. So, eelgrass for the fish to hide in, juvenile fish to hide in when they're going out to sea.
The Canada geese eat eelgrass?
Yeah, they definitely eat eelgrass. They're eating sedges, which are really important to the kind of holding the banks up and stability of the banks. We're trying to do our best to quantify what those impacts are.
Well, I want to get to the history of Greenways and the current projects and all that, but how do you tell a geese has come from California or something?
The only way we can do it is through the bands. So
do you capture the bird and look at it?
No, we don't have to capture them. They've got big neck collars on them. They're about this high. And so we can view those through. We have a couple of telescopes, and Dane's out in his kayak with binoculars. And so you can read the numbers fairly
So that's number 77?
Yeah, it's a 077F, that's how it would go. We're going to go like that, but there's 200 of them colored, so. And they all end with F, I believe.
Yeah, all of the Campbell River ones end with F.
Why? Why F and not J?
Those were the bands that Environment Canada gave us. Yeah, they run the bird banding program kind of internationally, or nationally for Canada.
Cynthia Ben-Dixon, that's an old family name in Campbell River. How long you been in town?
Well, I grew up in Campbell River. The Ben-Dixon family actually is a little bit north of here. My great-grandfather homesteaded on Hardwick Island, which is just near
my.
Sayward. Yeah, so, and there's still quite a lot of family that visit Hardwick, and I have a cabin there. And yeah, it's a really, really special place, and there's a lot of family history, so it's neat.
So the history of Greenways, where did it, I mean, you know, you're in the city's annual report, makes reference to you guys. You do a lot of stuff. Where did it come from?
Well, the organization started in 1996,
that's not so
so
long.
we celebrated our 20th anniversary this year, which is fantastic. We've been around for quite a while and gone through kind of waves with, you know, some periods are busier than others. We're very dependent on funding, obtaining funding grants and things like that. So when there's funding out there available to do projects, then we get to do more.
Yeah.
And in 1996, there was a group of people who were concerned about the environment and conservation of the environment, and the Land Trust was started at that time. It was part of a bit of a movement of land trusts being created, particularly on the coast.
Yeah, there's a big one in Victoria that had funding issues.
Yeah,
but they've worked it out.
Yeah, they're a bit of a special issue. They got
Okay.
into some trouble, definitely.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons was they started mortgaging some of their properties. Greenways actually is one of the only land trusts in BC that we don't actually hold any properties.
I was just going to say.
Yeah, so we can't mortgage
a
anything.
land trust with no land.
Yeah, but we do manage a lot of land. So we enter into agreements with other agencies to manage land on behalf of the environment, usually. So that's where the ethos came from. So we were formed as a land trust with the intention that we would be able to hold conservation covenants and hold land, but the funding was never really there for us to take on that responsibility. So that's one of the issues that happened in the Victoria case, is that they were expecting more funding to come in to help fund these mortgages, and that didn't come through. But the Greenways board at the time made the very, very prescient decision that, okay, you know, maybe we'll just wait off and hold back, and they're quite risk averse, and so we're in a very good position today.
Yeah.
We're actually in a bit of an expansion phase, and we're bringing on new staff, and we're bringing in new funding. So yeah, we're really doing well, I think, at this point in time.
How many people? I mean, do you get a membership in Greenways, or?
Yeah, you can get a membership. We have a membership. We count membership and supporters. So our membership list is people who pay the membership fee, which is $20 for the year if people are interested in joining. You can fill out the forms on our website, and also our supporters. And we count our supporters as anyone who donates time to Greenways, because that's just as important. And so we have something like around 400 members and supporters.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So the funding. Where do you get the funding?
We get the funding wherever we can find it.
Yeah.
So we have funding from all over the place. We have funding from the city. We have funding from other organizations, other levels of government. So we've got quite a lot of federal funding in to work on fisheries projects. We have some Environment Canada funding that's just come in. We work with Nature Conservancy of Canada, Pacific Salmon Foundation, Cam River Fish and Wildlife has donated to the Goose Project. And I'm probably going to forget a few, but they're all on our website as our current funders. And in the past, we've had funders from, the Real Estate Foundation to many other different places. So we find funding for projects wherever we can. We also have a large base of corporate support. The Browns Bay Chum Derby gives us a very nice financial donation every year. And so they've supported us for, I think, about 10 years now, and donated over $80,000 to our organization. So we're really very fortunate to have them as a sponsor of the organization.
Now, on Broom Bash Day, you had a big tent, or I guess I took a photo of it. I don't know if we can get it up. But, like, who pays for that? Or it's an asset you guys have, I
The
guess?
tent?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean those are pop-up tents. So we have a couple of
yeah.
pop-up tents. We have two, and we've had them for many years. And so we use those at festivals, so Oceans Day and Rivers Day, the Hague Brown Festival, and Pink Salmon Festival. All those we taught out our tents for, and when we have events. volunteer events as well. Sometimes we set those up. So like at the Broom Bash, if we want people to get a bit of shade, or we provided refreshments, so coffee and biscuits and donuts and that sort of thing.
Do you have a storage room and or an office, or?
Yes, we have both in separate locations. We are very fortunate. The city managed to find us a little bit of spare room in a location near the Sportsplex. They have a kind of abandoned washroom facility, so we're in there. It's a really nice concrete block building. So very many thanks to the city for that.
Is that the office or the storage?
That's the storage.
Oh.
Thankfully, it has no windows, but that's good.
Yeah, well, actually, that means no break-ins.
Yeah, it's very secure.
It does the trick for
Yeah,
sure.
it's very secure. So we're really pleased to have that. That was found for us last year.
Yeah.
So
you're special projects manager. How long have you been doing that?
Well, I've been special projects manager since I think October 2015, so a couple of months now. Last year I've been with the organization off and on for about 3 years. So I think I've done almost all the jobs there. Yeah. We tend to, because of the varying in funding.
And somebody was on mat leave too.
Yeah, Erin was on mat leave, so she's our operations manager, Erin Noack, and so she was on mat leave, and I covered her position while she was on mat leave. And
see how cool I am? Mat leave. What does that mean? It's jargon.
Yes. Well, she's very, very fortunate to have two young children.
Oh, that's
so,
nice. Yeah, good stuff. Now the estuary, that's is that the top issue now?
Well, I think it depends on who you speak to.
Yeah. Yes.
For me, the estuary is one of my kind of priority areas for sure.
Yeah.
I think for the organization as a whole, there's the estuary and also the Beaver Lodge lands. So we do quite a lot of work in the Beaver Lodge lands with our Adopt a Trail program. Yeah. And I think those are probably the two top areas, and then plus we also do a lot of work with stream keepers and all the riparian areas and our urban streams. So that's probably the top three, I guess.
How big is your board of directors? Because that's a lot of stuff to keep track of.
It's a lot of stuff, yeah. We have 6 directors at the moment. So we're kind of transitioning into a governance board, and we're doing
transitioning to a governance board?
Yeah, well, I mean, our board is a working board as well, so some of them do take on projects when they have time. Yeah. And then other directors are there just to make sure that the organization is run smoothly and making sure we're dotting our I's and crossing our T's.
Yeah, okay. Putting my journalist hat on again. Bakey Island, that's one of your projects?
Yes, yeah.
Now, that was donated to the city, and it might have some old leftover industry pollution issues?
I don't know about any leftover industry pollution issues.
Oh, good.
Not that I'm aware of, but I mean, on any old industrial site, there's always the potential for pollution. But they did a very good cleanup of Bakey Island during the restoration phase. So the city purchased. The Nature Conservancy of Canada purchased the land, and then the city bought it, I think, for $1. And this was back in 2000 or 2001 was kind of the time period and frame of when that happened. And then the city went about restoring Bakey Island from an industrial site back into kind of a gem of the estuary. Yeah. And so now we've entered into a phase, and that was done by Jim Van Tyne, and he's very involved in that restoration process. And Greenways was a little bit involved at that time too. We did take on a few projects. And now we've kind of entered the maintenance phase and just kind of continuing doing things on the ground to make sure the trails are maintained and all the new plantings are still continue to be watered and taken care of to make sure that we do end up with a gem.
I hear tell that Rotary has plans, and I'm not sure if they've been approved yet, but for kind of a big circular walk. And
all I've heard of that is rumors.
Maybe
and, I don't know
bridge to Bakey Island?
I haven't heard that part.
No.
Yeah,
I'm not sure that's going to happen either.
Yeah, I'm not sure. My understanding was that was going to go sort of across the Nuns Creek estuary, but I don't know. That's all rumor.
Yeah,
at this point in time.
Yeah, interesting. Josie, why did you? Well, it's a dumb question, but why did you choose to work for Greenways?
I think, I mean, obviously it's a really fantastic opportunity. I go to school for environmental studies. Oh, nice. And so
Whereabouts?
in Victoria.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, at UVic. And so having an opportunity during the summer to do something that's engaging and is actually related to what I'm studying is a pretty golden opportunity. I mean, I know a lot of people who do things like landscaping, which is kind of halfway there, but not quite the critical kind of thinking that I get to do.
So it's practical work experience and it's productive.
And it's a lot of fun as well. I mean, there's such a diversity of projects at Greenways that every day I'm doing different things, and I'm getting out in the field, and I'm talking with community members, and it's it's a pleasure.
That's good. Dane, how about you? How did you find this, and
I'm taking recreation, fish, and wildlife in Selkirk College back in Castlegar. I got a hockey scholarship to go play there, so I was hoping to get back to the island for a summer job. And
are you a local guy?
Yeah, I'm from Campbell River.
Oh.
Born and raised, played hockey for the Storm.
I thought
Yeah, so it was just a golden opportunity for me as well to get back to the island and do something that was applicable to what I'm doing in school.
Yeah.
So yeah, it all worked out really well, and I'm having a blast too. There's so many different jobs that we've been doing, so keeps every day exciting.
The kayaking must be near the top of your favorites.
Yeah, I'd have to put that number one for sure. Chasing geese around, getting collar numbers, hiding behind bushes, running. It's really fun.
Yeah. Okay.
And John, I should mention at this point that the Government of Canada is part funding both of their positions, so thank you very much to them.
We're very grateful to the Government of Canada.
Well, we're all grateful because it's a good thing.
This is the first year that we've had 2 summer students here.
Yeah, and it's really nice because we can send them out on site together. And
that in a way that's safer too.
I mean, I wouldn't want. That's really why we wanted to have 2, and that's an increase, and we're really grateful for that because it really allows us to be more flexible in terms of where we send people when, because all the staff at Greenways, the full-time staff year-round staff we're all part-time. So we have to work around schedules and things.
Now, I just got a mental thing about bears. In North Vancouver and many other places in BC, they have bear problems. But I haven't heard of any bear problems in the Campbell River estuary. We have a few bears probably up around the suspension bridge and that.
There are bears, particularly, there's bears down at Bakey Island every year. Oh, really? And there are bears on the Campbell near the Haig Brown property. It's a very, very good spot to see bears, but they usually don't cause a problem, and they're only there during sort of when the pink salmon are in, or when salmon in general are in the river.
And I guess they're mainly black bears.
Yeah, all black bears, yeah,
because the other guys are there. Careful.
Yeah, and there was some grizzlies, I think, on Quadra last year, but they haven't gotten here yet. So.
Yeah. Okay. Now, we mentioned the city, but tell us a bit how the city supports Greenways.
The city supports Greenways in many different ways. We have a really close working relationship with a lot of the staff at the city. Terry Martin, the environmental coordinator, is kind of my go-to person for a lot of the projects that we run. We run projects sort of in partnership with the city, so things like the invasive species strategy and the urban forest management plan. And as well, the city does give funding towards Greenways. So we have a community partnerships grant, which is annual funding, which is really nice to have. And as well, we're working on the Bakey Island contract, so that there's funding associated with the maintenance of Bakey Island as well.
Now, the urban forest issue, that's not the same as the Beaver Lodge?
No.
The previous guest, Charlie Cornfield, talked a little bit about Beaver Lodge Forest. But where do we stand on the urban forest issue? What's going on there?
In terms of the plan, or in terms of the actual urban forest?
I'm not using the right word, I don't think. But they're trying to do something with the canopy?
Yeah, so as part of, the urban forest management plan was a 2-part project. So phase 1, Greenways ran that phase of the project, and that was doing an inventory of what we already have in terms of canopy cover in the city. Yeah. So and it was within the urban containment boundary, because we're really focused on the urban area and the benefits of trees to the urban area. Yeah. There's lots of benefits that trees provide to the urban area. So things like stormwater retention and even things like cooling in the summer, biodiversity, habitat for birds, and eagle nest trees are all have their own legislation, but they're part of the urban forest.
They've been a special issue in recent years.
Yeah. And particularly in those riparian areas that next to streams, those are really important urban forests because they help provide those ecosystem services. So the things like stormwater management or flood retention is really important. So creeks like Sims Creek, for example, they because of the urban area around them, there's a lot of pavement there. So when it rains, a lot of that pavement just, instead of soaking into the ground like it would naturally, it runs off the pavement, often into the storm sewer system. And so therefore the water levels in Sims Creek go up and down really quickly. And that's not so good in terms of flooding, and also for habitat protection and salmon protection.
But there are still salmon in Sims Creek.
There are still, lots of salmon in Sims Creek. These guys were down with our fish fences when they first started.
Measuring and counting.
Yeah.
What kind of numbers did you get?
Is it 5,224, I think, something like that.
coho smolts. That came
There's
out of
some
Sims Creek.
cutthroats as well.
Roughly that big.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So how does that 5,000 and change compare with previous years?
This is my first year here, so I don't know all the stats
I
yet.
think the number last year was a bit higher, but fairly in keeping with regular.
It's a decent return, a decent out migration.
Yeah, and because they're 4-year fish, they, it's so, is it 4 years from now? And see how they return.
So we measure the juveniles as they go out, so the smolts. And then we also do a fence in the fall where we measure the adult returns, so we can compare kind of survival and that sort of thing.
I've had kind of a fantasy about doing a salmon ranch on Sims Creek. Do you guys know what salmon ranching is? No, they do it a lot in Alaska.
Okay.
And that's where they help raise the fish, kind of like a hatchery. But they let them free, and they go swim out and feed out in the ocean, and then they come back fat and sassy and just wonderful to eat.
Well, we do a program where we do fry. They call it fry planting. So there's approximately 2,500 fry that actually come from Quinson Hatchery. The Sims Creek stewards mark them. These guys got to help do that as well.
Because they
clip
could
the
back
fins.
out the natural.
And so then they get planted out in the fall, and then in the following spring we can measure them as they go out through the fence, and we'll see how much survival we had of those hatchery fish as well over the winter time. And we can also measure them as they come back in terms of hatchery returns. Okay. So that's somewhat similar to salmon ranching. But going back to the urban forest.
I was going to get back to that. There's somewhere along Alder, I think it was, maybe Laura can correct me, but there was a residential lot that had about 8 big tall trees on it. And I drove by one day, and then they were just bare spars. And then, did you see that? And then a week or two later, now I saw yesterday, they're all down. But I guess, that's legal, isn't it?
Yes.
And is that a problem, or is that kind of natural?
It's, and again, back to the benefit of trees, particularly large mature trees, the larger the tree, the more valuable it is in terms of what it can provide to people, in terms of things like stormwater management and all those other things that I was mentioning. So those areas that are next to Sims Creek are really important for being able to collect some of that runoff and filtering it as well. They collect a lot of the pollutants out of that stormwater runoff before it gets into the creek. So that's important as well.
Now, this is... it is on topic. But last year, Greenways used a plot in the Campbellton neighborhood community garden to grow some, what's the correct word for those types of trees?
Spruce?
Yeah, we had spruce seedlings.
Not deciduous, they are evergreen.
Conifers.
And this year you've got cedar in there, I see.
Yes,
Cedar
and fir. So those trees actually came from is a little bit of a network, and the Fanny Bay Enhancement Society, they're another streamkeeper group down in Fanny Bay, and every year they get donations of tree seedlings from the forestry industry. After tree planting season in the forests is done, there's often trees left over. So they get these boxes and boxes of tree seedlings, and then they distribute them out to all the streamkeeper groups on the island and conservation groups. So of course, I nabbed as many as we could.
I'd say about 2,000.
Let's see, I think there's about 800.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but we planted them quite densely.
They're doing very well.
So the reason why I wanted to put them into the Campbellton Garden is because we got those trees donated at sort of the middle of May. End of May, something like that. And if we plant trees out at that time of year, our survival rates are really, really poor because this year it might have been okay because we've had a little bit more rain recently, but often we get, quite a large dry spell. And the reason why the trees are coming to us in the first place is because the forestry companies don't want to plant them because it gets too dry. So they have poor survival. So we were hoping to keep them watered over the summer, pop them in a box, and then we'll bare root transplant them in the fall when they have a better chance.
Where are they going to be transplanted to?
Well, we'll probably put some at Kingfisher Creek, and then also probably some along the Mert Thompson Trail, and possibly other locations as well, depending on where we can get them.
That's wonderful. Now, we're just about out of time. Is there something that we missed that you guys want to pitch in? The curveball question.
Curveball question. I'm trying to think of.
If the public wants to support you.
Sure. Our website, greenwaystrust.ca. We're really easy to find.
Oh, that's good to know. It's not Greenways Land Trust. It's
greenwaystrust.ca. And we are a registered charity, so if people want to make a donation, we can offer charity tax receipts. And you can also find us on Canada Helps, which is another website that can, if you'd like to donate monthly, you can donate monthly through them, or you can organize that with us. So there's lots of opportunities to get involved.
And on Campbellton Day, Monday, August the 1st, you have a sign up somewhere, I hope.
Oh, well, we'll try, I guess, if we're invited.
You certainly are. The Campbellton Community Garden is its proper name. We're going to have a thing there on the afternoon of Monday, August the 1st. It would be great to have you there.
Oh, great.
You can show off your box.
Yeah, there you
Your plot.
Well, at least the trees have all looked a little better this year than they did last year.
Will they still be there on August the 1st?
Yes. Oh, yeah, absolutely. We'll probably be planting those out in October.
All right.
We're actually thinking of designating October as tree planting month because that's the best time to plant trees in Campbell River.
All right. Well, Cynthia Bendixson, thank you very much. And Dane and Josie, thank you for coming along. And have a good summer, eh? I'm just a little jealous. Okay. Thank you, Valerie and Laura, for the cameras. And thank you, Shaw, for putting us on. And thank you, Brian Shaw, for sponsoring. And thank you for watching.
Talk About with John Twig is brought to you in part by Brian Shaw with Mackey Research Capital in Campbell River, offering portfolio management, investment planning, and insurance products.